Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start the class with some mantras. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhu Bhava Swaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Naha Prachodayam, Asto Ma Satkamya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya, Mrityurma Amritam Gamya. ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सवीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति 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 ओम. Let's open our Mahabharata books on page number 170. And we are going through Bhagavad Gita very quickly over here because this is a summary of Mahabharata. So Lord Krishna is talking to Arjuna. So see chapter 7. Arjuna asked, Prakriti and Purush, Kshetra and the knower of the Kshetra, what are they, Krishna? And I'm sure you all remember this chapter, Kshetra and Kshetragya Vibhag Yoga, chapter number 13 of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna said, the body is the Kshetra, the field, the seeds of karma are sown in it, and their harvest reaped. Munis say that he who knows the Kshetra watches what happens within his body. Arjun, I am the knower of the Kshetra in everybody. Discernment between field and the knower is the highest knowledge. Okay, underline this. Because this is we try to focus upon. The field is separate than the knower of the field. Kshetra is different than the Kshetragya. Listen to the nature of the field and the knower. Prakriti, the cosmos, first then ego, intellect, the 10 senses, 5 of the body, 5 in the mind, the 5 subjects of sense, pleasure and pain, desire and revulsion, the entire organism, intelligence and will, all this is the field of Kshetra. Humility, honesty, non-violence, patience, self-effacement, and the perception that birth, death, old age, illness, and pain are evil, detachment, no dependence on a wife, children, or a home, and absolute equal-mindedness to pleasure and pain, unswerving devotion to me, a life in solitary parts, far from the crowd, constancy in the yoga of the Atma, insight, all this is knowledge. Weightless, always on the verge of an explosion of freedom, Arjuna was carried upon the wave of light that crested Krishna's song. The Pandavas surrendered to the magic absolutely. It held him like its child. I will tell you how to reach the Brahma, who has no beginning or end and is transcendent, eternal. He is beyond both what is and what is not. His hands and feet are everywhere in all times. His heads, faces, and eyes are on every side. His ear is in this world, and he lives in the world as well, all enfolding. He moves the senses, but he is beyond them. He is perfectly unattached, yet supports the universe. He is free of the gunas of nature, but enjoys them. He is within every creature and beyond them all, always working, ever still, subtle beyond the mind's grasp, so near us, so utterly remote. He is one, and with every creature at once, creating them, nurturing them, destroying them, and creating them afresh. He is the light of lights, beyond darkness. He is knowledge, all wisdom's only object, and its sole purpose, innate in every heart. Nature and soul, Prakriti and Purush, both have no beginning. The soul in nature enjoys the infinite essences in nature. Attachment causes the soul to incarnate in wombs of good and evil. The witness is the Brahm in the body. He is the Atma, the last self, and the final experiencer. No matter how a man has lived, if he once experiences the Brahm directly beyond nature, he will not be reborn. By dhyan, some reach the Atma, some by gyan, and others by the way of karma. Yet others are ignorant of these three paths and they resort to worship. They too cross over the sea of death by their bhakti, their devotion to what they have heard. All that live do so by union between kshetra and its knower, nature and soul, prakriti and Brahm. The man who sees God abiding in all things and all beings, God dwelling deathless in the mortal world, he truly sees. The man who sees that only the gunas of nature act and never the Atma, he truly sees. For the soul is actless. When a man sees that manifold, multifarious being is centered in just the one and the how, from that one it spreads, he attains the Brahm. The Brahm has no beginning. It is before and beyond the gunas. Arjun, the Brahm lives in the body, but it does not act, nor do actions touch it, just as the all-pervasive ether is untainted, immaculate, because it is so subtle. Even as the sun does the world, the Lord of the field illumines every kshetra. The man who sees the difference between the kshetra and its knower, who sees the liberation of man from nature, he becomes free. Arjun was awash on that sea of calm, the song of God. Krishna's song radiated shafts of light that pierced the murmurs, the fine portals to the Pandav's spirit. And through him entered distant men in unborn times on strangest battlefields. Arjun heard Krishna within his heart, under his skin now, speaking to those multitudes, beginning his eternal work of salvation again. Listen to the wisdom of ages. The sages on whom it dawned became perfect. They were freed from the bonds of the body. They became like me. They are not born at creation. They are not destroyed at the dissolution. Great nature is my womb. I cast the seed of all things into myself. Of any being born into any world, Arjun, I am the father who casts the seeds. And Prakriti is the mother. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, the three gunas of nature, bring the deathless dweller into the body. Sattva is pure and reveals the Atma by blemishless light. Yet Sattva binds with attachment to goodness and to knowledge. Rajas is attraction, passion, sprung from desire and attachment. It binds the soul to the body with a hunger for action. Tamas is dullness, born of ignorance. It is blind delusion. It binds with darkness, sloth and stupor. From time to time, age to age, Sattva dominates, then Rajas and Tamas too, prevailing over the other two gunas. When the light of knowledge shines at all the body's gates, Sattva prevails. Unrest and greed are the signs of Rajas, and complete delusion dominates when Tamas rules. If death comes when Sattva prevails, the soul attains to the highest world of beings that know God. If death comes when Rajas rules, the soul is reborn among those who live the life of power and action. And if a man dies when Tamas reigns, he is being among the deluded once more. The good rise upwards, the passionate remain in the middle realms, and the tamasic sink, they devolve down to the realms of darkness. Arjun felt a seismic disturbance in his heart. It was the labor of the ending of a yuga and the birth of another, and he could not fathom it. Krishna, who saw it clearly, Krishna, who had caused it, sang unto his Bhagat. The ripples of enlightenment were on his lips, and his depths like the oceans unmoving. The dark one calmed Arjun, who was churned by the spirits of the two ages at whose very edge they stood out on Kurukshetra. When the dweller in the body transcends the gunas that cause the body, he is liberated from life and death, decay and pain. He becomes immortal. His terror quieted again. Arjun said, how do we know the one who is beyond the gunas? How does he live? How does he transcend the gunas? He does not despise illumination, restless activity, or dark delusion when they prevail, nor does he long for them when they cease. For him, pain and pleasure are alike. He never wavers. For him, a clod of earth, a stone, and a bar of gold are the same. Blame and praise are the same to him because he is established in the Atma's inner peace. He who has relinquished the initiative of action but lives in harmony with his nature, he has grown beyond the conflicting gunas. The man who is devoted to me transcends the gunas. He becomes the Brahma because I am that abode of bliss. Krishna's every word was a scripture. The everlasting Ashwatha, the tree of life, has its roots in heaven and its branches down in the earth below. Its leaves are the Vedas. He spoke in some wonder, as if his own birth's greater reasons were being revealed to him, even now. The secrets of incarnation being laid have to be avatar. And at the end of his lonely anguish, sublime calm stole over him. Like the banyans, the branches of the tree of life reach above and below, nourished by the gunas, down even into the world of men. Its true form is never seen in this world, nor its beginning, its end, or its nature. The Bhagat cuts down the tree with the sword of detachment, saying, I seek refuge not in the tree, but in the primal one from whom this current of the world flows. He who is free of pride and delusion, who has conquered the evil of attachment, whose lusts are stilled, who is devoted to me, he who is freed of the opposites of pleasure and pain, comes to the changeless state. Not fire, not the moon, or the sun illumines the self-lustrous being who is my abode. He who attains me shall never be reborn. The next chapter, continuation of Bhagavad Gita. In the chariot between the two armies, froze in time by the dark one's power, Krishna said to Arjuna, in this world, the avatar dons the five senses of nature and the sixth of the mind, the garment of Prakriti. When I take a body and leave it, these come and go like the scent of flowers on the wind. I enjoy the senses, Arjun, as you do, and suffer by them as well. But they do not delude me. The splendor of the sun, the moon, and fire are my own. I nourish the world while I am in it. Then as the moon, as precious stone, I bring up and water to the living world of plant and herb. As the fire of life, I nurture the bodies of animals. All the foods of this earth I consume and make inner and outward breath of them. I am the heart of every man who lives. I am the source of memory and knowledge and their loss as well. I am the Vedas, the Vedanta, and the knower of the Vedas too. Arjun, there are just two beings in this world, the dying and the undying. The one who dies in all these changing lives and the undying one is the changeless. But beyond both these, the Supreme Spirit, the Lord, pervades the three worlds and sustains them. I am beyond both the dying and the undying beings. I am the Supreme Person in the world and the Veda. Blameless Arjun, he who knows me becomes truly wise, says Arjun. Said Krishna, if you want to understand this war, you must know the two different kinds of men who fight it. Pure, fearless, wise, generous, self-controlled, and sacrificing, knowing the scriptures, austere and honest. Non-violent, truthful, relinquishing, serene, never finding fault, compassionate to all the living, free from greed, gentle, humble, and steady. Energetic, forgiving, patient, above arrogance and malice, this is the man with the divine nature. Ostentation, vanity, rage, harshness, and ignorance, Arjun, these are the qualities of the demonic man. The man with the divine nature finds deliverance, and the demonical one is bound in darkness. Arjun looked up anxiously at Krishna. who laid a hand on his head. Don't be afraid, Pandav. Your nature is divine, and so is your destiny. But let me tell you about the evil ones. They know nothing of the paths of karma or renunciation. They know nothing of purity, truth, or dharma. They say the world is unreal, without a basis, without a creator. These ruthless men of feeble understanding rise as the enemies of the earth to destroy her. They are full of hypocrisy, vanity, and delusion and abandon themselves to insatiable desire. They live in ceaseless lust and foolish cares, which end only when they die. Their single mission is to amass all the wealth they can by the vilest means. I am the Lord, the great one, they think. This is mine, and the other shall be mine as well. I am mighty, successful, and happy. I am rich and well born. Who is there like me? I shall sacrifice. I shall be bounteous. I shall always be joyful. Yes, so they think, deluded. Bewildered by a dark jungle of thoughts, entangled helplessly, they fall into hell. Conceited, obstinate, arrogant with wealth and power, they perform hollow yajnas, with which ostentation and no regard to the inner content. Given completely to lust, anger, and violence, they hate me in others and in themselves too. These ruthless spirits I cast again and again into dark wombs in the great cycle of deaths and rebirths. And fallen into demon wombs, birth after birth, the malignant ones never rise to me, but devolve to the lower bestial state. Threefold in the gateway to hell, threefold the way to the ruin of the soul, lust, greed, and anger. The man who is free from these naturally does what is best for his soul and attains perfect bliss, the changeless condition. But he who discards the scriptures and follows his baser nature's call, he does not come to perfection or joy or the highest peace. Arjun, in this world, let the scripture be your guide. It is sacred. It comes from me. Arjun asked, those who don't regard the scripture but sacrifice to God in faith, what place have they? In sattva, rajas, or tamas? Krishna said, each man believes according to his nature, and he is what he believes. Sattvic men worship the gods, Rajasic men worship wealth and power, and men of tamas worship the spirits of the dead. They make gods of their ancestors, ghosts. Because vanity and lust fill them with egotism. The demonic ones mortify their bodies with violent austerities, which the scriptures do not ordain. These fools weaken their organs of sense and outrage me. The sattvic sacrifice is scriptural. It seeks no reward. The Rajasic one is all for show and gain, and the sacrifice of tamas distributes no food. No hymns are sung, and it is faithless. Worship of the gods of rishis and gurus, purity, uprightness, continence, and non-violence, these are the tapasya of the body. Sweet words that offend no one, but are truthful and kind, and the charity of the Vedas are the tapasya of the speech. Serenity of mind, gentleness, integrity of purpose, self-control, and silence are the tapasya of mind. Together, these are the threefold tapasya of sattva. The Rajasic tapasya is done out of pride, seeking fame for the sake of exhibition. The obstinate penance performed for the lust of pain or to hurt someone is the tamasic tapasya. The sattvic charity is dutiful, made to the deserving at an auspicious moment and place, and seeks nothing in return. The Rajasic gift is always made with a selfish purpose for some gain, and the tamasic gift is a contemptuous one, made without regard for time and place, and neither for the one that receives it. Om Tat Sat is the threefold symbol of Brahman. The Brahmans, the Vedas, and the Yajnas were ordained of old by this. Om say the Bhagats of Brahm at sacrifice, penance and charity. Tat they say at sacrifice, penance and charity. Sat means the absolute. Arjun, everything that is auspicious, good and true. All penance, sacrifice and charity are called Sat. But if a man performs any of these without faith in Brahma, it is Asat, unreal, of no account here or hereafter. Continuation of Bhagavad Gita in the next chapter. Near the end of the Dwapar Yuga, between two armies, the Pandav warrior Arjun said to his cousin, the Avatar, Krishna, tell me about renunciation and relinquishment and the difference between the two. So these are like a tyag and a sannyas terms. The Kali Yuga yawning before him, the dark one of Dwapar said, renunciation is when you abandon karma out of desire. Relinquishment is when you act but abandon the fruit of what you do. The karma of sacrifice, penance and charity must be performed. These are the purifiers of the wise, but they should be done with no attachment for their results. The tamasic renunciation is through ignorance, the rajasic through fear. But if a man does his duty, forsaking its outcome to me, his relinquishment is sattvic. The sage of relinquishment does not doubt, but his nature is sattvic. He does not shrink from what is unpleasant, nor is he drawn to the pleasant. No embodied being can renounce karma entirely, but he who relinquishes the fruit of his work is enlightened. The consequences of karma are pleasant, unpleasant, and mixed, each in its season. But those who are detached reap no consequence at all in this world or the next. The Vedanta says there are 5 participants in any deed: the body, the ego, the senses, the motions of life in the body, and providence, the 5th. All karma of speech, of body or mind, good or evil, is caused by these 5. He who thinks that he is the one that acts is deluded. But the man who is unattached, untainted by egotism, who acts naturally, perfectly, no karma binds him with any bond. Though he kills thousands, he is no killer. Arjun, there are 3 kinds of conscious and 3 kinds of happiness too. The sattvic conscious knows right from wrong, what is safe and what dangerous. It knows discrimination and relinquishment, what binds the spirit and what frees it. The rajasic conscious cannot distinguish wrong from right, what to do and what not to. And when a man's conscience tells him wrong is right, that evil is goodness and distorts the world, it is tamasic. So too with happiness. The man who knows the Atma has the joy of pure knowledge, like poison at first and ambrosial finally, the joy of Sata, the end of sorrow. The joy of Rajas is of the senses uniting with the objects of sense, sweet in the beginning, deadly at last. The walked pleasure, which deludes the soul at both beginning and end, bestial satisfaction, born of stupor, sloth or cruelty, is of tamas, always fatal. There is no being on earth, none among the devas of heaven, who is free of the gunas of Prakriti. Every man's inner nature ordains his dharma. Brahman and Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, each has his innate natural dharma. The Brahman's dharma is to know the Atma, to be serene, restrained, and pure. The Kshatriya's is to be battle-skilled, fearless, generous, and resolute. The Vaishya's is to breed cattle, to till the earth, to trade, and to serve all men is the dharma of the Shudra. But all men are born equal and equally for perfection, and each shall find it if he follows his nature's dharma. A man worships God when he performs his prakritic dharma, and so he finds perfection. It is better to perform one's own dharma, however imperfectly, than the dharma of another flawlessly. for there is no sin in following one's own true nature. As to imperfection, all karma is clouded with imperfection, as fire is with smoke, but that is no cause to give up one's natural duty, no reason to stop worshipping God or seeking Him. Listen, Arjun, to how the perfected man is one with Brahma. His mind and heart are free of delusion, full of compassion. His senses are subdued naturally by a steady will without regret. He seeks solitude, eats little, speaks less, and is always absorbed in the Brahma, the truth. Vanity has gone from him, pride, violence, lust, anger, and so have all his possessions that once possessed him. Entirely serene, he is fit to be with Brahm, and he who is with Brahm, past sorrow, beyond cravings. All beings the same to him, he loves me most dearly. To love me is to know the inmost truth that I am. Knowing me is to enter my being. Everything that man does is offered to me in surrender, and my grace is upon him. He finds the eternal, the place unchanging. Krishna felt a great war won within himself, the worst over. Evil overcome, retreating, Arjun, radiant with faith, said to him, "You have removed my fear. I feel I have already triumphed in all my battles. I know that whatever you have said to me is true. But Krishna, I want to see your divine form, Lord. If you think I deserve that revelation, show me your imperishable self." The armies vanished from Kurukshetra. The world vanished from Kurukshetra. Only Krishna, the blue god, stood smiling and tremendous before Arjuna. You cannot see me with your human eyes, but I will give you other sight. Behold, Arjun, my forms, 100, 1,000, endless. See the Adityas, the Vasus, the Rudras, the Ashwins, and the Maruts. See the hidden realms, the universe, and whatever you care to see, Arjun, behold me. And Arjun stood transformed before his Bhagat. Speaking from many mouths, Krishna stood transformed before his Bhagat, speaking from many mouths, seeing with numberless eyes, carrying countless weapons, wearing divine remnant and garlands, heavenly perfumes of endless visions and marvels, irradiant, boundless, his face was turned everywhere. The nebulae were his ornaments. If 1,000 suns rose together into the sky, their light might approach the splendor of that being. It was the vision he had shown a shadow of in the Sabha of Hastinapur. Now it was complete, refulgent. Arjun saw the universe with his gifted sight, all its eternity gathered in one in the body of the god, of gods. His hair stood on end. He folded his hands in awe, and the Pandav fell on his knees. "O Lord, I see the gods and their hosts in you. I see Brahma on his lotus throne and all the rishis and heaven's nods. I see you with numberless arms, bellies, mouths, and eyes, but I do not see your end, your middle, or your beginning. O cosmic infinite one. I see you with your crown, mace, and wheel of fire. You are the light of lights, incomparable," cried Arjun in ecstasy and terror verging on death. "The sun and the moon are your eyes. Your face is an eternal fire whose brilliance lights the universe. The void of space between the stars is full of you. The three worlds are in awe of this form of yours, and I tremble seeing you shouldering the sky, blazing in more colors than I had dreamt could be. O Vishnu, this vision makes my soul weak with fear. I see your endless mouths, dreadful with tusks, full of time's devouring flames, and I quail. Be gracious, Lord of gods, sanctuary of the galaxies. I see not just my enemies and friends, but all men and women, humankind, fly like moths into your flaming jaws. Lord, I see the earth and the constellations spinning into your fanged mouths, and you licking them up. Have mercy, O Godhead. I know nothing of thee." God said in thunder, Time am I, waster of words. Fight or stay your hand, no matter. These Kshatriyas will die in me for what I am come. So take up your weapons, win glory by killing your enemies, and enjoy a kingdom. Oh, ambidextrous bowman, I have already slain your enemies. You are only my instrument. Kill Drona, Bheeshma, Jayadratha, Karan, and the rest, whom I have damned. Fear nothing, fight, and you will conquer. His face in the grass, his eyes shut tight. Arjun prostrated himself at the vision's feet. He breathed, "O Krishna, it is well the world honors you. I understand it now. Hail, hail to you, 1,000 times hail, for whatever I said rashly to you, thinking of you as just my cousin, not knowing who you really are, calling you Krishna, Yadav, or friend, I beg your forgiveness, O Father of worlds. Bear with me as a father with his son, as a friend with a friend, as a lover with his beloved. I cannot endure this vision of you. Be merciful. Be as you were before, O million-membered one." God said, "My love has shown you this form of fire, luminous, primeval, which no one has ever seen before on earth. Not by the Vedas, by sacrifice or study, not by the sternest tapasya will anyone else in this world ever see this Vishwarupa. But look and do not be afraid." Again, Krishna, his cousin and friend, stood smiling and gracious before Arjun and gently pulled the Pandav to his feet. Red-faced, hands still folded, Arjun panted, "Lord, I am quiet again." The panic drained from his body, though he still shook where he stood, and Krishna was reminded of another purpose of the avatar, to allay the terror of man faced with absolute Godhead. He said, "Even the Devas, Arjun, are always eager to see me as you just did. Only by bhakti can I be seen like that." He embraced the trembling warrior. "He who worships me and has no enmity with any creature, he comes to me. O Kshatriya, consecrate all that you do to me. Think of me as your nearest king. Know that I am your only refuge. Be one with me in your heart. When you are with me, I will take you over every trial and sorrow. But if you are conceited and you do not listen, you will be lost. It is your vanity that says, I will not fight. You will fight, Arjun. Your own nature will compel you to. You yourself create the karam that binds you, and caught helpless in its power, you will do even what you want to avoid. God abides in the hearts of all his creatures. He turns them around on the wheel of his Maya. Surrender to him, Arjun. By his grace, you will find supreme peace and the place beyond change. Krishna smiled at Arjun. Now you know the wisdom that is the secret of secrets. Think carefully on it and then do as you decide. These are my last words to you for now. You are the friend I chose over all others, and I speak for your good. The blue god was a being of pure love. He said, give me your heart, love me, worship me always, bow only to me, and you shall find me. This is my promise. Who loves you more than you can imagine. Relinquish your karam to me. I am your sanctuary. Fear no more, because I will save you from sin and from bondage. Arjun, you must never tell this holy truth to anyone who has no faith or restraint, or who hates his guru and mocks me. But the man who loves me and teaches my Bhagat, this supreme secret of the Gita, will surely come to me. If any man meditates upon this song of ours, I will know he has worshipped me in spirit. And the man who just listens to it without derision will be freed of his sins and attain the swarg of the just. His deep power between the two armies over, his battle of the spirit, Shri Krishna embraced his cousin and soldier. Around them, time unfroze. Horses moved, chariots and soldiers. Kurukshetra resounded again with conches, drums, and tabors. Arjun stood forth, the river of light, the song of God, with the sea in his heart, enfolded in his charioteer's fathomless calm, at peace with himself. The Pandav shone with faith. Krishna said, has your soul heard everything I have said, Arjun? Have I dispelled your fear? From his new peace, Krishna's given peace, the archer replied, Achyut, your grace has made my mind firm. Its doubts have gone. I will do as you say. I will fight. And he picked up the Gandiva again. Krishna looked at Arjun and wondered whether, when faced with his kin, the Pandav would truly aim to kill. The dark one's eyes twinkled at his cousin. Krishna took the silver horse's reins in his left hand. With a flick of his whip, he plunged his chariot towards Bheeshma and the Kaurav army. With a ringing cry, the avatar bore his warrior of light into the war on the crack of the ages. And next week, we'll see how this war has started. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.